All right, hey, folk, you Zeus is live. Um, Before we start, I'm gonna go over a couple little things. I'm constantly working on the lighting here, so it's a little bit different today. So if anybody's out there, if anybody wants to leave a comment, even after the fact, what you think, just going through. I noticed I left the light on in my kitchen, and I guess that doesn't look too bad. Might be a little bright. Trying different things, and let me see. That's the microphone. I can put that out of the way if I need to. Hopefully, you're hearing me fine. Not going to ramble too much before we get into the topic. If you do like the video, try to like what's going on. Just put a like on the YouTube like button. You want to get notifications, you hit the bell thing if you want to know when I'm coming on. I've been doing another announcement I have is that I've been doing Sundays at 8 p.m. I might be changing that for a few reasons. I'm thinking that during the week, early in the week, might be better. I'm thinking of switching it over to Tuesdays, um, maybe even earlier, 7 o'clock. We'll see how that rolls. But right now, I'm getting occasional people chiming in a live. I want this to be a live, open discussion as we go. For sure, after the fact, people are leaving occasional comments here and there, but we're still just trying to get this thing. I am, all the people inside me are trying to get this thing off the ground, and I do have some support from people that are interested in seeing this thing go. But right now, it's the world of podcasting is crazy. It's like there's all kinds of stuff out there. I'm sure if you get on YouTube at all. Um, so you can see all the different stuff that's going on. What I'm trying to do is to include all artists, not just musical artists. Basically, I'm a songwriter, I'm a sound engineer, I'm a musician. I play instruments, I sing, and all that kind of stuff, and bringing it in for many years. I've done that, so that's my kind of, you want to call it an expertise, or at least my uh, background into it, so that I can bring in from that. But I also have some background in the arts and stage management in theater a little bit. So, but I like to include everybody that considers himself an artiste. So we'll start with that in mind. That even though I'm going to be bringing up stuff from my experiences as a musician, but you can extrapolate into other arts as well, and I'll address other arts as well. Um, okay, a couple a no brainer. I'll start with this. But the topic is be your own best advocate, and the first idea I'm going to throw out there is that all artists want to gain audience. No brainer statement. There might be a few out there that want to keep their stuff secret. They don't want to. They just want to do their art for themselves, and they're I don't want to say selfish, but they're very protective. A lot of people are very paranoid, maybe about getting negative response from some place or someone. So maybe they'll hold their art in, but that's very rare. I believe that's very rare, and I could comfortably say that all artists. Maybe does that make you an artist if you're just doing stuff for yourself and the art is only for you, or is art actually within the definition, a wider definition of art? Is that something that needs to be shared? Is that something that other people need to look at or hear or feel, touch, whatever your art involves, whatever medium that you use. So audience is important. You want to gain audience. Okay. Second thing I'm throw out there. This is just an opinion. I would say that most artists have little desire to become salesmen. And as if you are, obviously, if you want to gain audience, you got to sell the audience. You have to, we always say it for songs, you sell the song, meaning it's used as more of a figurative relationship to sales. To sell a song is to sing it or play it, to make it work for yourself and for the audience. So you sell that song. But in the actual objective way of looking at sales is say, okay, we have to. I have a song, or I have a painting, I have whatever it is, I have a play, I have a book, a novel, whatever, and I want other people to experience it. And what's that going to take? It isn't just me just throwing it out there and just going sitting back and saying, okay, you got to get out there and you have to talk it up. You have to do things to make people interested in that piece of work that you've thrown out there. So, but I'm in that club, so I don't want to become a salesman. I don't consider myself a great salesman. Um, but I do understand the workings within the business that I've chosen to be a small part of, a cog in that, so I understand that I'm producing the art, but at the same time, I don't have a contract with someone to go out and sell it. Uh, that's one of the things if you choose to be independent. If there are ways to kind of package your stuff to now sell it to somebody that's going to sell it, so and we talk about, artists are at least initially their own managers, promoters, marketing agents, and salespersons. So you're initially that. I don't care where you start from, unless your parents are taking your art and selling it or whatever, and then you get into that whole thing, and that's a lot of that's in the news today too, is conservatorships and all that kind of thing. But basically, if you're an adult person that's out there creating art, you know, you start into it, even if you want to impress a manager or you have to sell it, you know, literally. You have to kind of like to say, okay, make a deal. Okay, hey, you want in, you like our band, or you like this group of paintings that I've done, and I want to get into your gallery. This is why I fit into your gallery. Why you should give me a show at your gallery. The music live show you want. You go to approach a theater and saying, hey, I have this play, and I think that we can, I'd be willing to help out to promote it, because you know what, if somebody takes it, we're a team. We become a team. Even if you are getting other people involved to take on, to believe in you. To get somebody to believe in you, you first have to believe in yourself, which is where we're going to mainly start with. Okay, that's the psychology of it. I mean, do you like your stuff, or do you think you like your stuff? Is your stuff any good? Making those determinations. Okay, in order to become that advocate, to become your own best advocate, you first have to like it. To be honest about it. Of course, there's salespeople out there. They know that they're selling you a piece of shit, and it happens to everybody that you buy a piece of shit because you were talked into it by some unethical, you might say, unethical salespeople. Um, that could be a whole nother discussion about the ethics of it all. But in general, when you start off, you better believe in what you're doing, and have that, that inside you say, yeah, this is solid stuff. This is good stuff that I've got. I think it's ready. It's ready to get out there, and I think a lot of people will like it. And I want people to go see it, even if it's not a lot of people that'll like it. If it's very niche, or you're kind of fitting into a certain thing and certain movement, certain underground thing, whatever your art is geared towards. Like, you have to recognize, where it fits. And that, we've done video on genre. I'm not, and other topics, that all this stuff kind of comes around. I'm kind of focusing on little bits of it, but as I'm talking, you see, and if you've watched my other videos, any of my other videos, you'll see me repeat a couple things here and there, and kind of go off on a tangent that kind of like gets into other areas of it. But in general, we're gonna focus on you yourself having to get out and become your own best advocate. How are you going to get that? It's like, I'm very uncomfortable selling my stuff. I have to do it, And I think people think I'm comfortable doing it, but it's not in me. It's not in me to be comfortable in that role. It's some For some people it fits like a glove. They got that gift of gab, and they can really sell it. The motivated sequence, they have that in their blood. If you know about a motivated sequence, you might want to look it up if you're an artist. And it's a basic sales concept that is, if you look at almost every commercial that on TV or here in radio, or any kind of ad campaign and stuff like that, it's like it follows along that what's known as the motivated sequence. So look into it if you want. It's basically getting someone's attention, using some attention, tell them what they need, why they need something. Okay, there's just like follow a certain path, the satisfaction of the need. And so you know getting their attention is the number one thing. So I mean, not that we'll follow completely the motivated sequence, but that's the first thing we have to do in order to get their attention. You have to, unless you're a really good actor, which I think I'm a decent actor, because I'm not in and I'm not into sales selling, but I act like I'm a salesman sometimes. So but I think a lot of artists are the same way. They it's like, kind of, okay, we got to get it out there. It's like you can't be too timid, though. As much as you might be an introvert, or you might be, you know, you might get lucky and somebody will discover your stuff. When we've talked about that, people that have been in situations where they later on you're discovered, you're dead already, and people see your art and say, okay, wasn't that great? Okay, so whatever. In the longer sense, it's the art that matters more than the individual that creates the art. You can argue that. So I mean, are you in that position? Um, Especially, as I'm getting older, I'm seeing that, okay, I'm getting a body of work. I've got a large body of work that most people just see me. They see me play at a restaurant in the corner somewhere, or whatever, or even on a stage in a showcase gig situation, a songwriter showcase, or however it is, where you get a listening audience and stuff like that. They get a very small taste of what I'm doing. I mean, hopefully, try to stretch out when I can, and bring in different elements of what I've done, and different periods of time, bringing songs from different periods of time. So in the same way as an artist, if you look at one painting, if you're looking at visual arts, you look at one painting. Okay, you look at one Van Gogh and say, okay, that's interesting. That's really interesting stuff. Then all of a sudden you start seeing, you go to the Art Institute, or you go to the Louvre or whatever, at different uh, art museums, and you start seeing collections of it, and you go from painting to painting, and you're starting to see this style, and hopefully you're recognizing the genius behind it all, and where it's going, and what different people. The best art is the art that initiates different feelings in different people. So if somebody else, you don't want it, not everybody's going to see that work of art in the same way. If they do, then maybe you just did it too obvious, or maybe you want it to be very obvious. And there's, like, we talk about Warhol art. It's kind of like, yes, it's obvious what it is, and it's obvious that it's different. There's certain things that you say is very obvious, but the why of it, why is this like why did Van Gogh paint the way he painted? What was in, and then you start to look into maybe a little bit into the life, and if you want to dig deeper into the artist. So, and I know nothing about Van Gogh as how he promoted himself. I mean, he got his stuff out there. He wanted to be recognized, and he wanted to, that kind of thing. And then this is not a history lesson, um, but people want to get a new audience, get different audience, and that in general. So digging into, I'm separating now into two. I like to do that, kind of get a yin and yang approach to it. uh Talking about the philosophy versus the structure. philosophy of the structure of how to become that advocate to and how to advocate. Uh, Mentioning a philosophy would be understanding who you are. The first thing you need to do, understand who. Like, okay, so and then moving that into structure, it's like, okay, what level am I at? What genre do I belong in? Or what purpose is this art being achieved for? There's different reasons that you create works of art, and then we go back to the arts and crafts. I mean, did you craft this piece to be a specific kind of thing? In the Sistine, you could work and say, okay, it's very, the Sistine Chapel when he painted the Sistine Chapel, and all the beautiful work of art that it is. But it was somebody says, hey, you have this ability. Somebody went and said, you have this ability to do that. So you have these crafts that you've determined, and you've done some great art before. So it's like, okay, what was the purpose? Why did you do it? You were commissioned to do it. Did you just come off? Did you visit the muse, and the muse brought you this stuff? So understanding all that stuff builds your confidence. To be able to promote this piece that you've developed. So first, philosophy of it is like understand who I am. It's a philosophical to be able to really grab hold of who am I. Okay. And what level am I at too? I mean, it's kind of like I might not think of myself as being in a certain, like, I'm not a great jazz guitarist. So, if I do a jazzy tune, I'm going to have to bring other people in to finish that piece that may possibly, or it might be such light jazz where I can craft it to a certain point. So that kind of thing in finding your purpose, your genre, and your level. Okay. Another one is what your art represents. Okay, in the philosophy. So what does art represent? Something, some idea within you, some emotion that you've had, a story that you're telling. Um, you know, a picture of a mountain. Okay, is it about getting like more of a spooky feeling of being in the woods, in a mountain, and there's the mountain. There's my goal is to or is it just for the fact of it's just a beautiful, like worshiping God or something, is like a lot of people have a vision of nature as being God's a work. So whatever, it can go in a lot of different directions. What is that? What's it representing for you? And within the structure, it boils down to, and something we talk about in communication a lot, is a residual message. When I talk a lot about putting what if you tell a story, there's some kind of moral to the story. There's some message that normally you just don't rattle off a narrative and have it go. No, it's kind of like, okay, well, it's like there's storytelling, and there's certain elements of storytelling if you do it within that structure, as we're talking structure here. Okay, so I don't want to make it seem too structured. Okay, but there has to be some kind of residual message that you're trying to convey to the new audience, or to the audience that you already have. Okay, next one is who would or will be viewing this art. Okay, going back to, is targeting, is this going to be targeted to you know this counterculture? I'm feeling that I'm like philosophically in tune with this group of people. If I do a lot of anti-war songs. I feel philosophically in tune with that audience. So I'm recognizing what within me will touch this certain audience. I'm is it some am I into doing dance music, so I want dancers. So I'm thinking about that. It says that, is a song danceable? It's going to fit my set if I'm hired to do dance music. And a lot of my gigs will be in situations where you got to think of that. So, okay, some of my stuff is not going to go here. So we, especially in a band situation, we're gonna lean a little bit, if I'm doing covers, obviously, it's like if it's, but we need a two-step, there's different kinds of things. Do we need a waltz? Do we need this? Whatever, you start thinking about that. And that, that's kind of audience. What was the audience expecting? Especially in live situations, a lot of times I'll have a live gig and, I'll structure a set. And a lot of times that set works. That's great, especially, the showcase gigs. Kind of stick to that a little bit. But if all of a sudden you see that's not going in the right direction, you might twist it and say, well, no, these guys want to be more lively or something. And my ballad things ain't working. So these are little things that you have to, say is who will be. I mean, you look at your audience. And if you're recording music or you're painting a painting and you expect to be in a certain gallery, you got to understand, well, okay, is this the right gallery for me? Is these do the regular patrons of this gallery, will they appreciate my work? And it's like I said, you have to evaluate yourself if you're going to be your own advocate. Um, so who's going to be viewing it, who's going to be listening to this stuff, and then on the structural side, it's like choose the target audience. So as we're trying to recognize that, we kind of like said, okay, that's who I think will be most uh, attracted to my art, that this kind of thing, because I'm kind of feeling it with this group. So I'm going to make that choice, that cerebral choice to say, okay, that's the audience I'm going for. This is the audience. That's the audience I'm going for. Okay. Uh, doesn't mean that you have to just be one way, and that gets boring for the artist. It gets boring for the audience. Sometimes you'll choose, like say in a dance situation, it's kind of like, okay, it's all dance tunes, but maybe you want a little more dynamics. You want to be a little more theatrical. You want to have some, so that people will actually understand. Even the dance people will get more into it if you can connect with the audience in certain ways. So this goes a long way into understanding yourself and to understand what you need to do to be the advocate. Okay, moving on here. Beyond that, available means for presentation. I wrote down here available means for presentation. So you have to understand that I'm not going to write a symphony if I don't think that I have enough connections or enough of money to hire a full symphony orchestra to do my stuff. I remember there's the I'm a big Frank Zappa fan for various reasons, but a monster musician, and he wrote a lot of very serious, you might say serious work for orchestra, and he had some contracts to do it, and there have been orchestras that have done some of Zappa's work, and he had a bunch of it, and but he at least it took him a long time to get to the point of convincing an orchestra to do his work, and you have to have financial backing for that. I mean, there's a lot of people involved, and these are professionals, and they need to get paid. They need to make a living out of it. So yeah, so if your art involves that, so what is the means of your art? Uh, even putting a four-piece band together and trying to keep it together is one thing. Do I have that? Do I have the means to do that, to get my art, or am I going to be a solo artist? Am I going to be part of a repertory group? Am I going to be, even if you're a comedian, okay, you can join like a Second City improv group or something. Um, and you have that means. You can go and you can maybe become that, audition for that. So there's another thing about selling yourself. Then as soon as you widen that, you have to sell more people on the fact. If you're a solo artist, you could just create your art and then go out there and say, okay, this is what I got. I got this. If you're a songwriter, you can say, I have this song, and I'm going to get other people to record my song. So you have to sell the song, not in the figurative sense, but in the objective sense. Say, I want somebody else to do it. You want to, record this song, and if you make money on it, you give me a residual. I get my royalties and all that. So that's the other side. And work of art. Do you want to sell your art? Do you want to take it to galleries? And do you want to set up a Patreon and stuff like that? And there'll be eventually, even for this podcast, I do have a Patreon page, but I'm not promoting it yet because I'm not in position. I don't believe yet to really go for that, to set up that. And right now I'm just kind of doing it on a shoestring, but don't want to digress into that. But same kind of thing. It's like you want to set up a situation where you're going to depend on people donating to you, patrons. You know, you want to get patrons of your art, and that a lot of visual arts work off of that, and theater, and that even corporate donations and sponsorships and all that can get involved, and that involves in affecting your art too. Another whole thing that we can do around that, how your patrons can dictate what kind of art you're doing. They're going to be expecting a certain art, and if you need to keep it. And that's not nothing new. That's something that goes way back, to medieval days or whatever you want to go, the Renaissance, the old Renaissance, the original Renaissance. And, being a new Renaissance now, we're on that, talking about that grassroots, but eventually you get to a certain level and there's other people that expect things from you. And okay, is that what you're gonna sell? Is like, okay, I want to get to the point to where you're gonna tell me what to do. And that, if you're commissioned to write songs, if you're in a, if you join a publishing house, publishers, people in Music Row and that Nashville, people, there are staff writers, and you're given, here, we need a song for this artist, and these are the kinds there's been hits on this kind of thing. There's been hits about mommy and daddy and stuff. We need to get hits for grandpa or something, what I mean? So whatever, that's just in it, that actually happens. And things kind of like, okay, oh, this is a great song. I mean, I remember I pitched a song one time too. Daddy Was a Famous Man. And the guy really liked the song. He says, "Yeah, but there was just this artist that just did a daddy song." And so, we're not looking for that. So so there are people out there, publishers and people that plays music that are looking for that kind of thing. So you got to understand, what's the market for what you're doing too. And that's more of a professional level, not on an artistic level, I believe. I mean, the art is in writing the song, is in painting the painting. But where does it fit? So we're looking at that. Okay. Then so that's available. Okay, use all means for free exposure. Now we're getting into the nuts and bolts of getting your stuff out there. Use don't feel that, okay, that's useless, but it's free. It's like Facebook. I don't get a whole lot of traction on Facebook personally. I see some people do pretty well with it, but and overall, most artists are you can put your stuff up, put your painting up, put your whatever, links to this and that, and you'll get some response, and then all of a sudden something will take off, and you don't. But it's out there, get it out there. I'm trying to get more involved with the Instagram thing, and I really don't even understand that. That's just, it seems like a Facebook, but it's, I can't even figure out certain things about it. But I'm working on it to get more. So that's another one where you could post stuff out and videos and things, and photos, and then if you should have some kind of a website or web place online. There's a lot. The online world is, there's a lot of freebies that you can get. Put some listings out. I don't do everything. I don't have my stuff in every little thing. I do what I can, and I get hot and cold like everybody. And right now I've got a bunch of energy. Health wise, I'm recovering from something from about a year and a half, 2 years ago, and I'm doing well. So I'm feeling I got a little bit of momentum to where I'm going to start putting more time and energy into to promoting. I've got new recordings out, blah blah blah. So things like that. So I'm in that mode. So you maybe have to find your time You have to make your time to really evaluate and say, okay, I really need to push into these areas. And I'm not. This is not a video that's concrete going to tell you do this, do this, do this, do this, and you'll be a star. But just the basic concept is use all means of free exposure. It's not going to cost you any money. And then if you put up a website, I've had a website for years and years. It's not really too expensive at all. I mean, most web hosting is in the $10 a month per range to host it. Somewhere you can get cheap enough, you can put up. In music, you have Reverb Nation. People do the Reverb Nation pages. I got a SoundCloud page. I got other means of placing music that's not going to cost me anything, or cost me very minimally. But the main to have a website of your own is great. If you can get there, it's not really that expensive. It's a learning curve like anything else. You have to learn how to get involved with that world. If you want to maintain it yourself, of course, if you hire somebody, now we're talking about a cost. So, but it's not too hard just to at least get your, get your brand name out there. Get your, whatever it is, joeblow.com. Okay. So whatever your band name is, the impressions.com. There was a band, the Impressions. Anyway, okay. Okay, approved from both artist recognition and thematic appeal and relevance. So, you have to kind of approach your personal evaluations now by where your art is going to be relevant, and that kind of ties in with most of what we said. To get the available means. But sometimes you'll use certain things. Is that I'm not going to do like a heavy metal side. I'm not heavy metal. I'm nowhere near heavy metal. I've kind of roots rock, folk, country, roots rock. Okay, so I'm going to be addressing all that. So it's like, I'm not going to waste my time going into that. So I want to be in a place where it's relevant, and understand that you have to bring your stuff and find the people that want that appeal, that theme that you have within your music. Like I said, that residual message, going back to that, or some kind of a theme of just released, just posted earlier today, the song "Son of a Common Man," which I did not write. It was written by a couple old friends of mine, Mark Beats, Larry Moon. In fact, it was a collaboration effort. There were some other people that were kind of involved, but those were the two principal writers, and that's who I credit to. But I recorded the song. I've been doing it for a while. Remember, Mark Beats used to do it all the time. So, but it has that theme of working man, a celebration of the working man and the struggle, but we're making it through. And it's hereditary. There's a hereditary end to it too. That's what my daddy did, and this is what I'm doing, and a celebration of the working class, in a sense. So that's where that theme lies. I mean, there's lots of other components within the song and the lyric, and it's a beautifully written song, and that's one of the reasons I do it. And you could find that online with me. The song is "Son of a Working Man," but anyway, it says thematic appeal. And in this day of age, there's that other and then name because skips my mind because he's kind of new in the scene. But now he's a big hit. He's like a viral video of him playing this song live, and it kind of has the same kind of I'm a working class, but it's kind of more of like we're fighting, but the world today is against us, kind of a thing. That's more on and I have songs like that too around that. So, but that's another addition to the theme, celebrating the working class. But we got to fight the man, the elites and all that. That's another whole can of worms, but to fight. Okay, so I mean, All right, now we've got all that, and it's like hopefully as you're identifying all the stuff, you get some confidence behind you. And there's a fine line between confidence and arrogance. And it's got a lot to do with personality. But I always say, is there, and the one thing, I was going to bring this up later, but I'll bring it up now. It's the difference between sugar and vinegar. There are times when you might be able to sell something with vinegar, is depending on where your music or where your art is lying. It might be kind of say, hey, yeah, this is nasty stuff, man. You're a nasty man. You need to, it's like, or whatever. It's kind of like, that's but for the most part, if you're trying to sell it, do it with a positive attitude. For the most part, most musical styles, genres, and that it would lean towards, okay, especially if you're trying to sell it to a manager or something like that. Say, yeah, insult the guy. Like I said, unless you're in that, that edgy kind of a thing, whatever, the vinegar kind of thing. But most of the time, a little sugar, on top, and hey, yeah. That's like, I really, hey, I respect you, and I really like your choice of artists, and I think that I can fit into your stable of artists, and that. However, if you're trying to sell it as to join a label or management company, be a client for it, however it works, go into the gallery and you don't go into the gallery and say, hey, this stuff sucks, man, you should have my stuff in there. You don't do that. You go in and say, hey, I think I'd fit really nicely, like I think I really like this artist over here. I mean, even if you don't like the art in a gallery, and probably you shouldn't be there, you know to kind of like put down other people just so that you can, putting down somebody else to make yourself look better is a descending ladder. It's psychology 101. It's constant. How do you get ahead? You put down everybody else. It's politics. You see in politics, the first thing, negative politics. I am the best candidate because I don't suck as much as these people around me. Okay, same way with artists who say I'm the best artist because everybody else sucks. Now you say you want to build up, find the artists around you that are, they say, yeah, yeah, I saw that you hired this guy. He's really good. I know him from this. We shared a show here and that, and we fit really well together. And I think that if you put him on a Friday and me on a Saturday, so you gotta look at it from where there. You gotta kind of find instead of just saying I'm great, hire me. You go in and find how you're going to fit into that situation. And that's why I like to. I mean, right now I'm in a situation where I'm kind of picking and choosing some venues. I'll take certain gigs, like a restaurant gig, and that I can easily, come in and be background music. But I'm choosing some venues where I think, creatively I can fit in. But I'm not going to go and just say, well, give me a big night, your best night, and because I won't be able to fill a house. I just know it, with doing in a new venue and in that kind of a thing. So I might say, well, here, I can work with a few other artists that I know. We could put something together, or I might be able to host a songwriter night at your place or something. So, whatever, find your talent, find out what you're best at, and kind of look at it and just say, okay, this is how I can fit in. So it's more about trying to find out what you can fit in. I'm gonna rub my nose. It's gonna itch. Okay. And then a question, overexposure. So it's like, yeah, so, maybe I won't fit in because I'm playing the place next door. I'm playing the place on the other side of the next block. And it's like this, and they're depending on me to bring some people. Maybe if I had, go to try to sell myself and to get to your audience, is like, okay, well, they can come see me here and there. So maybe that's not the venue you want to approach. Maybe, this is, and other parts, it's a really good selling point. And they listen, I'm packing the place next door, and there's no reason I can't pack your place. It's in the same neighborhood. You're a real quality club, or you're a real quality restaurant, or whatever. I can do the same for you. if you really feel that way. You can have the confidence, to say that. Like I said, no arrogance. Say, hey, you got nobody here. You got nobody here. I can pack your place. Yeah, yeah. Watch me. And so I mean, it's attitude. So being your own advocate is about understanding your customer. Any sales as a salesperson and a customer. That's what you're doing. Even though you might be selling to a salesperson who's going to sell you in the next level. So so yeah, it's overexposure. You got to look at the situation and saying, okay, there's like, I'm getting, and then people get tired of you. It's kind of like, okay, and especially if you're doing the same old shit. So that's why you got to keep growing as an artist. And then next question, another question is, any or all press is good press? I always say that, and I kind of believe that. It's like I would prefer, and as long as it's not, I would prefer any kind of a critique, as long as it's not, you know, what would you call it, sophomorish or antagonistic, or it's too damn personal, you know. But even then, it's kind of like, if somebody's gonna start talking me down, it's gonna make people say, well, really, this guy, I've heard of this guy, and some people think he's good. This guy thinks he sucks. I better go listen to it. So you can maybe get people interested in you from a negative review. It happens a lot in the movies and stuff like that. Somebody just like trashes a movie, and then all of a sudden there's a certain contingent of people saying, "Oh, yeah," or they might recognize that critic and say, "Yeah, that guy, he's always trashing people and stuff like that." When he really trashes somebody, it's probably a good reason to go see it. It's probably a funny movie or something. The guy has no sense of humor or whatever. So you can look at it from that aspect. But I get feedback point, from every point of view. Um, get out there and try to get some buzz going. Even on Facebook, say something controversial, or put something out there that's a little bit different than just, hey, look at me, I'm great, or I'm playing this gig, come and see me. And I do that, but everybody on Facebook, that's a typical thing, and you got to do it. Like we said before, use all those, those freebies that you can do. And but in the long run, you want to, think a little bit creatively into how you're going to advocate for yourself. Use anecdotes, tell stories, make connect dots, you know use other people's critical sayings or whatever, that might apply to what you're doing. So lots of different ways to get some press, and to get, recognized, or get some reaction from some people, good or bad. Whether the bad press is good or not, if you get to a certain level, it can destroy you. Maybe. Ah, I don't think so. I'm not worried about that. I think I've got good enough art where it's anybody that gets to a point to where they encounter it, they'll accept it as being, man, pretty good. I think I've got enough of confidence to think that, they might not be their cup of tea or whatever, but that's all good too. All right, going back and kind of getting to a wrap up here is talking about the grassroots. Now, the grassroots equals taking it to the streets. So, yeah, you want to advocate for your stuff verbally, and you want to sell your stuff, and you want to tell somebody about it, but you got to get out there and you got to do your art. Okay, or even if it's a painting, find maybe if you can't get a gallery to show your work, find a street corner or something and put it out there. I don't know if it's legal in your municipality or not, or whatever. There might be a licensing. There's busking licenses for musicians where you can get. In some places you don't need a license. In most places you do, that have that kind of thing. So you pay your $15-20 for a license. You can go out anytime and find a corner and do your thing. I've done some of that, and I don't see why you can't work with some other arts. I've seen jugglers on street corners. I mean, you go to New Orleans, you see all kinds of stuff. That's a perfect place to go busking. I know a lot of people that I've known through my life have done that. I've done some in Chicago. Houston's tough. Houston doesn't have very many um, areas where there's foot traffic. There's lots of people walking from. That's where you need to do your busking. You don't busk on a corner where nobody goes. So you want to go where there's some people that maybe have a few bucks in their pocket and throw some tips in your jar, as they're walking by. That are in. They say, "Oh, that's cool. That's very culturally sound. That's good, man. We got live music on the streets and all that." Sometimes you could be too damn loud. I hate the guys that come out and they blast on a corner, and it's kind of like, oh man, it's like just too much. It's like there's a right level, I believe, that you should use for busking. I mean, I personally, I don't. I would do it with amplification if there's more than one, two, three, people, but keep it low, keep it down, and keep it to where, you know. I mean, I remember in New Orleans one time I was playing a gig with Kim, and there people outside in the street, or there were buskers, but they like kind of like a bunch of these guys banging on those drums, and they're out in front of the bar, and we're playing, and it's louder than us with a PA inside. We can hear these damn the buckets. The guys that play on buckets. It's fun stuff and all that, but it's like, yeah, you could do that, move it on next to, because they were just sitting out there for an hour just banging on these damn drums. So, you know, uh, you might want to move it around a little bit if you're into that mode. Um, like I said, taking it to the streets, you get your stuff out there, whatever. Go to open mics. If you got gigs all the time, then yeah, okay. But if you don't have a gig that week, get out to an open mic and play a few of your new songs or whatever it is. Or you could tell me, I'm hoping that we get people from other artists, like there's comedy open mics. There's I don't know if within theater, do an audition, make sure, I don't have anything going. Make sure you get to those auditions, get out there, take it out, make sure that you're doing something, to get out and know, so you don't get too just kind of into yourself. You want to share, be ready to share. And that leads to be aggressive, but be kind. Kind of leave it there. Although it depends on the environment you're in, and then going back to the sugar and vinegar type thing. But overall, I mean, I think whatever kind is, sometimes vinegar is a kind move. If you're eating fish and chips, man, load that vinegar on stuff. So, but sugar applies more often. Even though sugar is addictive, and I'm on a low carb diet, and I got to get rid of sugar. I got a real bad sweet tooth, and it's been working for me. I've been doing okay with that. So on a personal level there, but yeah, be aggressive, but be kind, and be your own best advocate. Develop a good attitude, and don't be shy. Get out there and get your art rolling. So that's it for Folk You Zeus for this week. Like I said, I think I'm going to be changing maybe to Tuesday, and it won't be this coming Tuesday coming up. But I'll be leaning towards that, I believe, as we get into it. I'm thinking football season. One reason why I just haven't been getting a whole lot of traction on Sunday, so I want to maybe try another day. I was thinking about it anyway. So I'm thinking Tuesday is a good day. There's no Monday night football, Thursday night, and all that. So I'm looking at those little factors as well as to when I could start to get the more live interaction. And thank you very much for checking out the videos. Go check out my main website, markzeus.com. Lots there. But don't subscribe to Mark Zeus Music, both on YouTube, Mark Zeus Music, and this channel, which you're watching on, which is Folk You Zeus. And we'll see you next time.